Guess what? You get two videos in one day. Um, AMT. I know I put this on one of my updates. AMT, I was going to discuss AMT. I'm so disappointed. I used to, as we were growing up as kids, you kind of expected a certain level of cheesiness out of AMT because, well, back in our day, the technology to create these molds and to retool them and that it wasn't what it is today. But nowadays, you look at companies like Dragon, Italari, um, Aoshima, so forth, so on, and the kits they're punching out. And then you look at the kits Revell and Monogram, and that's it punching out. And for the most part, those are some pretty detailed, very nice kits. And then you turn to AMT, and you're and I don't know about you, but I know I'm revolted anymore by AMT. And I'll use this kit as an example. Now this kit, this hood was so warped it wouldn't close down around the motor. I tried cutting these side panels out to help. Did not help. I finally ended up taking the motor out and throwing it on the workbench, and I had a 6-cylinder that came in another kit, a straight 6 Dodge engine, and I built that straight 6, made my own header for it. I put it in this thing because I said, well, back then they run what they brung, and some of them couldn't afford them big 427 blown engines. The headlights almost fall through the holes in the hood before you even clean the flash off of them. These side panels of the body are so warped that when you get the body stretched down over top of the interior pan, these roof posts discolored. So I ended up having to cut the firewall completely out of it to relieve the stress here and here. And then I had to make a new firewall. And after I got that done and got it set down into place, I realized that the body wasn't sitting flat on the chassis because there was a warpage in this door. So I cut the doors out to get the body to sit flat on the chassis. Then I took the door and I had to heat it up and I had to rework it to make it fit the chassis. I figured, well, instead of gluing the door back in, I'm going to make them hinged. I made suicide hinge doors. The roof panel is, you get two options. You get a flat piece of plastic to put in there, or you get a piece of clear plastic to put in there. Both of them fall completely through the hole. There's a 1/16 of an inch gap before you even clean them completely. There's a 1/16 inch of a gap hole in this thing, and they just fall right through. So I had to make my own. You get 5 lug wheels in the rear, 4 lug wheels in the front, and I don't know if you guys can see it or not, probably not. The tires that are on this car are mud tires. All 4 wheels, mud tires. There's no other tire option in the kit. You get these big, chunky mud tires. And I noticed it after I bought the kit and got it open and halfway built. I noticed it on the box. I was so disappointed. There's no detail. No detail at all. And that's not the only AMT kit I got. I can't show it to you right now because it's in the purple pond. But I have the AMT double dragster. I hope I pronounce this right. The Tilapia body is stripping. The paint went bad on it. It messed up on me. And the other ones I'm not building. I will not build. They're just going to be here to use as patterns because the bodies, they're atrocious. The Model T tub is a 1/16 of an inch thick on one side and 3/16 thick on the other side. The custom body that's with it is so warped. I've tried using warm water. Um, I've tried laying books, 40 pounds of books across it for days on end, and it's so warped the two halves will not come together. The frames for the rails, there are two rails, two rail options you get for the dragster. There are so many pinpoints on them and so much sanding to do because it looks like the mold's almost offset when they punched them out. There is so much cleanup to do on these frames to use either one of them to any kind of extent. I'd almost be better off to buy all new evergreen tubing and make my own frame. Scratch build a copy frame. It would be almost time and economically effective for the amount of sandpaper that I'll go through to rework these chassis plates. The rims are offset in the centers. The center is actually a 1/16 of an inch off, and when you look at the outside edge of the wheel, there's an 1/8 of an inch thickness on the bead block over here, and a 1/16 inch thickness on the bead block on the other side. I'm just so disappointed in AMT's quality. I think at this point, I almost prefer Lindbergh over AMT. And that's sad to say because Lindbergh, although they've made some decent kits over time, I used to scoff at their big clunky plastic axles and lack of parts detail. Although their parts have detail in them, you would have 3 parts molded into one chunk instead of 3 parts. Like with this engine, the old Lindbergh style would have been to mold the starter into the side of the block, and the oil filter was molded into the other half of the block, and the water pump was molded excuse me, was molded into the 2 halves of the block. When other kits give you a water pump, an oil pump, and a starter separate, that was Lindbergh's old way. So I used to go, if I can get it in another company, I'll get it. I steer away from Lindbergh. Excuse me, it's 7 o'clock in the morning here. But now I'm looking at Lindbergh and going, wow, you've stepped up your game a little bit. I'm seeing a little bit clearer mold lines, a little bit better body stampings. I recently got one of their Chrysler 300 kits, Dodge 300 kits that I had 10 years ago when it came out. 10 years ago when it came out, that was a thick body. That body was almost an 1/8 of an inch thick. That thing felt like one of the old 1960s era promo cars. That's how thick it was. And now I look at it and you can tell it's definitely been retooled. That body's nice and thin. The details on it are crisp and sharp. There's no sinks in the front corners where the mold shrank after it was popped out and what have you. So, Lindbergh stepped up their game a bit. I think AMT needs to too. For the price we pay for these kits, $20, $30 a kit. Right now, the United States kit prices are banging Tamiya kit prices. I can go get a nice Tamiya Skyline, Volkswagen, whatever, for 20 or 30 bucks. And the detail in a Tamiya kit is impeccable. No, they don't give you all the engine that other model companies do, but I'll tell you what, the detail in the bodies and the chassis, and it's clean. It's clean. And I think it's time for AMT to step up their game. And if not, I just won't be buying AMT anymore, because everything that they make that I can't get from another model company, I can get resin body. And if I gotta pay $20 or $30 for something that I want, I'd rather have a nice build than have to spend 3/4 of the time that I intended to build that kit fixing their trash. And that Willie's Coupe kit, although it turned out to look halfway as decent when I was done, there was a lot of work in that I don't think I should have had to have done. I don't think I should have had to have used a half a tube of Testors model putty to fill all the sinkholes that are in that kit. And I mean, there were some sinkholes. There was one that I would say was at least 2 millimeters thick in the body. I think that the idea of making a 1960s era gasser car and putting it out with mud truck tires is retarded. Putting 4-bolt Pinot front wheels on it kind of made me cock an eyebrow. I mean, you know, I suppose somebody probably did put 4 lug wheels on, you know, their gas cart one time or whatever. But for the era of the car, I would have thought, maybe not. They might have gone with something a little safer. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I mean, that's just a little detail that I personally find annoying. For the price I paid for that kit, I opened the box and I was greatly disappointed. I think for the price that I paid for that kit and the lack of parts that were in that kit. I mean, the chassis is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The chassis is 5 pieces, and that includes the interior tub. Seats, 1 seat. I think it was only like a 25 part kit. I mean, it was very few parts at all. It didn't say anywhere on the box, but I'm wanting to say somewhere around 25, 30 parts. I bought it to be a quick build, and it took me longer than building a 80 part car. But oh well, it's done for the most part. I don't have any bare metal foil, so there's the roof trim and windows trims and stuff like that I got to get done yet. But you know, otherwise it's done. And I'm currently gonna not be able to get kit snap for a few months. I'm gonna save up for a better camera, and then I'll be able to show you guys the Willys and the Jeep and maybe the Wrecker when it's done, if it ever gets done at this point. It looks like it's turning out to be one of them long-term projects for me. Every time I find go to put something on it, I find something else that needs to be built for it, because, well, you know, I'm going for detail with this one. So, but anyway, guys, I've been on here long enough. I got to get going. It's almost time for work. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again.